here's your host, Alex Garrett.
All right, and welcome inside to Alex Garrett's Podcast Network. It is One Leg Up on Sports tonight, and before we get started with Terminello's Take, I just want to say happy birthday to Anthony Rizzo. The picture is up there on my X account, AlexGNYC1. I'll post on Instagram. One of the best moments this summer was definitely meeting Anthony Rizzo, and of course the Woodbridge experiences. And you know, while I'm thinking about all this, I wanted you to hear from one Chris K, CK, known on Instagram and Twitter, about being at Woodbridge Brewery. Well, I'm with one of the RepBx community members, CK. What's it like to be here at Woodbridge tonight?
Oh, it's amazing. We got like, how many Yankees? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Yankees. All current players, all doing their thing. Some of these guys are all-stars. It's amazing. Wow.
It's a special group this year, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. So we could go all the way if we really wanted to.
A couple of these guys are not, playing right now, but I think if Trevi and Clark come back, that's going to be bolstering this team, isn't it?
Of course, yeah. Clark was pitching really well. He was pitching like close to a 3 ERA, and his presence in the starting rotation will be valuable, I think.
Tell me about what you do, CK, because I see you all over the place.
I'm a customer service rep by day, but I'm a content creator trying to become one.
All right, well, where can we follow you?
You can follow me. My handle is C, my last name, KAILATH, on all platforms, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right, and then we're going to have a follow-up conversation at a longer time, longer conversation down the road.
Appreciate you, Alex.
Nice to see you, CK. It was a great event with the guys and Jack Curry and Canely and Cabrera and Trevi and Clark Schmidt as well as Luke Weaver, and they're hoping to get the series win tonight. And Terminello's taking I cover it. But before we get to it, a reminder, we are holding a fundraiser for Just-in-Time Baseball. That's right. We have the opportunity at the Alex Garrett Podcast Network to sponsor a child to play in the Oswaldo Cabrera baseball camp with Just-in-Time Baseball. And I wanted to once again drop the link and once again drop my Venmo. And if you do want to donate to support the camp and support this effort, we are partnering with Just-in-Time Baseball. Leave a comment for Just-in-Time Baseball. That way I know where to direct the proceeds to. So again, the goal is ultimately $300. I'm only asking for $150, but if we have overhead, of course, we'll send that over to Just-in-Time Baseball. Can't wait for that as well. All right, on the Alex Garrett Podcast Network right now is Lou Terminello's Take. Lou, before we start any of our sports discussion, I got to say this. I often found myself doing a lot of monologue on the news of the day and disability and accessibility. And maybe people wonder why I don't talk sports alone. It's because I'd rather talk with someone, and I feel like talking with someone makes sports talk better than just ranting to yourself on the air. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I just love the one-on-one conversation instead of the monologue when it comes to sports talk. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, I like to give and take. I like to give and take with somebody else talking sports like we do. I agree.
Because to be honest, a lot of the give and take now is on Twitter. We don't get that in-person talk. So whenever I had a chance to interview someone on sports, that is where I feel like it's the best time to talk about it. Because I could sit here all day and talk about it, but I just not my thing anymore. It's now bringing on the experts and friends like you to give me the sports update every week.
Well, Alex, thank you so much. But yeah, I love the back and forth. It always makes to me the listen more interesting.
But I want to start out with actually your team, the Mets, because they went out to the coast. They lose 2 out of 3. And then the Rockies, gave them a fight the last couple of games. Is there a bit of a slowdown going on here, or are the Mets okay?
I think there is a bit of a slowdown. The All-Star break, those 4 days off, Alex, did something that Major League Pitching couldn't do. They slowed down the Mets hitting machine that was going on for almost 2 full months. And, they just haven't been hitting since post All-Star break. Nimmo has been in a huge slump. Lindor he was red hot. He's cooled off. Francisco Alvarez has cooled off. He's chasing pitches outside. Again, he's in his first full year of the major leagues, and he's coming off the 7 weeks that he missed when he was operated on for the broken thumb. I mean, I think they'll be in it to the end, but they are up against two hot teams in the San Diego Padres and the Arizona Diamondbacks. They are on fire. Both teams are getting timely hitting, clutch hitting. They're getting solid pitching. San Diego did a terrific job fortifying the bullpen at the trade deadline. They're going to get Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove back pretty soon. That's going to make them even tougher to beat. So, I mean, the Mets road to getting that playoff spot is going to be really difficult. I mean, Arizona's 24-9 since June 29th. You got to give a credit to these teams. They've really done a good job. Now, the Mets are still doing fine. I mean, it's not like they've collapsed or anything. They're a half a game behind Atlanta going into play today. And Atlanta obviously has taken a free fall with their injuries, and that's brought them back. But for the Mets, they'll start hitting again. I mean, they were just hitting at a ridiculous clip, and the same thing will happen to the Padres and to the Diamondbacks. They'll come back down a bit. But the one thing that really killed the Mets, losing Kodai Senga. That was a devastating loss. He was gone for the first 4 months, came back, had his first start, looked like he didn't miss anything. And the Mets have nobody on their staff that's as good as Kodai Senga. So that's a tough loss that the Mets are going to have to try to make do without for the rest of the
That was unbelievable. The first game back, and he has this injury, like almost it was just horrible, a really horrible scene. And by the way, we've seen this a couple of times. Acuna Jr. having that non-contact play, running from second to third. I mean, is it the field, or are these bodies not as much in shape in rehab? Like, what's going on with these players that they can break down now on non-contact plays? Well,
maybe they're in too good a shape, Alex. Maybe they're in too good a shape because the play that Senga got injured on, he was just trying to get out of the way of a couple of infielders catching a little pop-up. And he was heading towards first base in case the pop-up dropped. Just a horrible break for the Mets. And he's a real good pitcher. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I think the Mets are going to get, Met management is going to get what they wanted. We'll be competitive in 24, and we'll reset the organization, which is what they want to do. So I think they'll be in the rest of the way. But they have, this tough road trip now, and not tough being so much with the opposition. Yeah, they're much better than the Angels. They're much better than the Rockies. But in a space of 48 hours, they were in 3 different time zones. They played a game in Anaheim on a Sunday, St. Louis on Monday afternoon, and then Denver on Tuesday night. So hopefully they can get through these next couple of games. Then they go to Seattle. Then they come home, have that homestand, and then they got to go back to the West Coast again, Arizona and San Diego. That's tough. And that's because you have now this interleague scheduling where in the past the Mets.
I was going to say the Orioles and the Mets play here. The Mets could play a big friend to the Yankees during that series. I can tell you that much.
Well, the Orioles, as we talked about the All-Star just before the All-Star break, about teams that could rise or drop in the second half, and the Orioles have so much pitching injuries. I mean, I think they'll be in it the rest of the way. I think they're still a little bit too young to do a lot of damage come playoff time. 5 guys on their loaded minor league system made their debut this year, and they have pitching injuries. Can they still finish first? Absolutely, they can still finish first, but it's going to be tough for them. And it's going to be tough for the Yankees too. That's a good race. I mean, then the shocker in that division is the Red Sox. The Red Sox, I thought, would be nowhere, and they are right there with Kansas City. They're a half a game behind or a half a game ahead of Kansas City, who's done a spectacular job after losing 106 games last year, led by the great shortstop, Bobby Witt Jr. He's right there with
Yeah,
Aaron.
I have my bone to pick about those who think there's an MVP race between Witt Jr. and Judge. I just don't see the comparison. But anyway,
Well, Judge,
maybe you do.
I think Judge is going to win it, Alex. But but Bobby Witt Jr. is right there. But Judge is going to win it. He'll win unless he has a terrible 6 weeks, which I don't see that happening.
Witt Jr., though, infused the Royals in a way we haven't seen maybe since the George Brett days. I don't know. He seems like that kind of generational player that fires up a middle of America team like the Royals, like Brett did in the 80s.
Well, Brett's a great player, obviously, a Hall of Famer. Bobby Witt Jr., I mean, when I watch him, he is just spectacular. I mean, he's truly a 5-tool player. But Judge is the best player in baseball right now. But you could put Witt Jr. I think Witt Jr. I'd put Witt Jr. ahead of Ohtani right now because Ohtani's just a DH in 2024, and he's a great DH, and he's probably going to win MVP in the National League. But Witt Jr. is just a tremendous all-around player. But Judge is going to win MVP.
I do like that Ohtani's been only DH. I know that he's a pitcher too, but last year, I mean, the guy was pitching then hitting in a doubleheader. He was, it just wore his arm out. We could see that. So for him to play a little more conservative, I think is better for him as he looks to recoup that arm. But man, as a hitter, he just keeps going, and it's fun to watch him. That swing is so cool to watch of Ohtani's. I gotta say, the way he swings and almost off the bat most nights, right? It flies.
Well, when the ball goes off his bat, it's just like when it goes off Judge's bat. I mean, these guys are knocking it into next week, and his offensive skills as far as rankings in the National League, I think he leads the National League in walks. Obviously, he's up there in every great category, and he's probably going to steal 40 bases. I think he's third in the National League in stolen bases right now. He's going to win MVP, I think, unless the Dodgers collapse. And right now, the Dodgers are only 3 games up on raging hot Arizona and San Diego. So we'll see. The Dodgers.
The Dodgers have to watch out because the Diamondbacks are on their heels again. And, we've always said the Dodgers are a good regular season team, but this year, they're not bursting out of the pack. And I think there's some disappointment with that because they signed Ohtani and they signed Yamamoto to these big contracts, and yet they're only 3 games up, and they've been healthy most of the year, haven't they?
Well, I mean, Betts has been injured, and they've had their injuries just like most major league teams. This has been a weird year. There's been a lot of injuries in Major League Baseball, but Freeman recently missed 8 games because of his son had a horrible injury, horrible disease, but they took care of that. I mean, they'll be all right. But Alex, there's something, I don't know. Maybe they're going to turn it on come playoff time, but they never have in the past. So, so we'll see there. But it's Major League Baseball this year is wide open. I mean, the Phillies look like they had, and I still think they do, have the best balanced team, even though their bullpen has gone into the crapper, and they've lost 15 out of their last 21 games. I mean, nobody figured the Phillies to go 6-15. And, even in Bryce Harper, who was an MVP candidate if he gets hot the last 6 weeks. I mean, he went through a 2-for-39 slump. So it's wide open. Anybody can win. Anybody can win.
Absolutely. And I would also note that the Mets, the Mets and Braves have no business being, even just under 10 games behind. I mean, the Phillies should be running away with this, but that's a credit to the Mets. That's a credit to Atlanta. Yeah, Philly's falling, but these other guys, I mean, Atlanta's had their skids, but they're both staying competitive. And I do think the Phillies are going to win the division. But hey, I think any Met fan would be happy being 8 games behind in August. That was something no one ever saw possible or ever thought possible.
Well, especially on June 2nd, when there were 11 games under 500. Nobody would have thought that would be possible.
But here we are. And you know what? It just seems like there's a lot of baseball to be played. Now, I want to say on the hot seat, obviously we saw the White Sox finally fire their manager. And kudos to Grady Sizemore. That guy played his heart and soul for Cleveland. I think he'd make a great manager, and I think we're going to see his managerial chops here the next couple months. But it does bring to question who else is on it. I have to say the Orioles manager is so hot-headed. I mean, he does seem to lose control of this team. If they don't win the division, would you say he's on the hot seat or no?
No, absolutely not. He's done a great job with a young team. He was there when they were in the doldrums putting the team together. He's definitely going to be there. He's not on the hot seat. I would say maybe Carlos Marmol will be on the hot seat for the Cardinals if the Cardinals don't make the playoffs. But right off the top of my head, I can't think of too many managers who will be on the hot seat. I really can't. But Brandon Hyde will not be on the hot seat. That I can tell you.
But I think we can both agree it would be something if the Orioles lose it, because I think they came into this season favored a little bit more than the Yankees. I could be wrong on that, but it just seemed like they had the momentum coming in, and the Yanks did fall back. Now they're back. It's going to be a seesaw battle. Hey, the one guy I didn't mention to you, and I still say the Yankees won the deadline because of Jazz Chisholm, and maybe you disagree there, but I just think getting Chisholm has been a bolster to this lineup that they didn't even know they needed.
Well, obviously, he gives them something that they didn't have. He gives them speed, which they didn't have. I mean, the Yankees were, I think only the White Sox stole fewer bases than the Yankees before they got Chisholm. I really don't know how high the Yankees have gotten higher in the stolen base category, but they still don't run a lot. The Yankees still, though, even with Chisholm, if they don't hit home runs, they have trouble manufacturing runs. And that has been a Yankee postseason problem. It's not because they're pitching. It's really because of their lack of hitting. And come playoff time, Aaron Judge is going to be facing a lot of scrutiny for his postseason failures. So he's going to have to come through this year for the Yankees. And I think the Yankees have a chance to obviously win the AL pennant, no doubt about it. I mean, I think their bullpen is at their back end is weak. I'm not the biggest Clay Holmes fan in the world. He's blown 8 or 9 saves, but they're still the Yankees, and they have Soto, and Soto's been has been remarkable for them. But you got 2 of the best 3 or 4 players in Major League Baseball. You're definitely going to be a favorite for a deep run in the playoffs. There's no doubt about it.
All right, let's one last thing before we switch gears to other sports going on, like the Olympics and everything like that. The one last thing I would ask you, Lou, is if the Yanks need to win the AL East, and I would say the Orioles need to win the AL East, because no one would want to go into a 3-game series against the Guardians. I think that's where this is headed in a wild card. I don't know if either team could beat them in a 3-game series. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just feel like you don't want to face the Guardians in a 3-game series.
I would say that Cleveland, just from my point of view, Cleveland's not going to scare the Orioles or the Yankees. The Yankees have had postseason success against Cleveland over the years. I know this is a different team. I would favor the Yankees or the Orioles against Cleveland. I would. That's just my point of view.
Well, we'll have to see. It is amazing to see them right up there with the Orioles and the Yankees. I mean, it's a team that has, Naylor, Ramirez, but they don't have a big hitting lineup. And so that's why it's so interesting they're staying up with these teams. I guess their pitching is pretty good as well for the Guardians. Now let's move on, because there's the Olympics, and I'm so glad you didn't boycott it after the opening ceremonies and after this, that, and the other. Because look, at the end of the day, we just want to see Team USA win. and they've been collecting golds along the way here. I mean, let's start out with Katie Ledecky, because you and I were in the suite with John Ledecky in 16, when she even qualified for the Olympics and had those big runs. I mean, that was special to be in the suite the night she qualified. Remember that night?
I do. And he is, well, I don't know if he was there for every one of her races in Paris, John Ledecky. And Katie Ledecky is, obviously the most decorated Olympic female athlete of all time. And, with 14 gold medals, she's going to carry the flag at the closing ceremonies. She's an American icon.
Simone Biles, you got to say, and I've been saying this for a while, watching her perform, is she's really told Larry Nassar and all those who really badgered her for her mental health over the couple of years, you know what, screw you all, I'm going to do this thing. And she's been doing it. I remember there was a point she was nervous to come back to the Olympics, and then she just said, let's do it. And I'm glad she came back, because look at what kind of shine she's brought to Team USA. Look at the optimism, the excitement, and really the hope that she's brought with her winning all these different medals. It's been fun to watch her.
Well, like any great athlete, a skill means a lot, but there's one thing that, even if you have skill, if you don't have this next thing I'm going to say, it could hurt you. Simone Biles is a great competitor. She has that competitive gene, like all the great athletes have. And congratulations to her on a tremendous Olympic career. Again, an American Olympic icon.
And I know that you've been following that closely. Now, let's talk about basketball. I believe as of this recording, U.S. is in the, they're going for gold. And I'll tell you, it's exciting to see it. But what do you think? Has it been a team effort all around? What is your thoughts from USA basketball this year?
Well, the team is obviously incredibly talented and incredibly deep. So deep that Steve Kerr forgot to play Tatum in the first game. But right now, we're recording this on Thursday afternoon, in the semifinal game, they are down 11 to Nikola Jokic and Serbia. So anything can happen in these one and out games, and they're down 11 right now at halftime. So let's hope.
Have you noticed any difference in the way they broadcast? Because I feel like NBC's had their usual prime time. They do air some stuff in the midday, but a lot of this has shifted to Peacock also, right?
NBC's production has been world class, spectacular. They're on all day live on NBC. They're on USA Network. Another one of the NBC networks, E, covers a lot of sports during the day. You can get any sport you want on Peacock. You can watch table tennis. You can watch golf. You could watch any sport you want. NBC has done a spectacular job, and the live daytime ratings it's been like 16 million a day during the day. So it's been a ratings winner. Obviously, they could show a lot of events live during the day because of the 6-hour time difference. But this is great for NBC as it leads into Los Angeles in 2028, because obviously it'll be in our country and the time zone is, they'll be able to show stuff in the daytime and the nighttime live. And they've done a great job with the prime time in Paris show, giving little anecdotes about certain athletes, what they've overcome. The Christian Faulkner, who won the cycling medal, she didn't start cycling until 7 years ago, and she won the gold medal. And I was watching that race live, and Alex, she blew out the competition. I mean, she won going away, and that was impressive. Cole Hocker, the other day I was watching the 1500 meters, or AKA the the metric mile, his final 300 meters as he just came back to pull the upset. That's what the Olympics are all about. The Olympics aren't about a Team USA, men's basketball. I mean, let's face it. LeBron's won all these championships. Steph Curry's won all these championships. Durant's won championships. But it's for these. I never heard of Christian Faulkner until the other day, and that's what makes the Olympics the Olympics. And yeah, it was great watching Novak Djokovic beat Alvarez the other day, and he wanted to win that gold medal. He wanted to win that gold medal because that's the one thing he never won. He's been in 5 Olympics and he never won the gold medal. You saw the emotion when he won that gold medal. Same thing for Scotty Scheffler. People say, he won the Masters, he won this. Why are they going to the Olympics? If you saw Scotty Scheffler on when he got his gold medal on the stand, you saw the emotion coming out of these guys. So the Olympics are still the Olympics. Big time event, emotional event. And this has been a great Olympics with the exception of the blasphemy at the opening ceremony. This has been a great Olympics.
By the way, one of our friends of the podcast has been with us. Kenny Albert is out there calling it. He's having a great time. Bruce Beck is over there covering it. It's cool to see our local talent on the big stage, isn't it?
Well, I was watching Kenny call. Unfortunately, the USA was eliminated. They were going for their 3rd straight Olympic medal in women's water polo. And, of course, Kenny was doing that game. And in his expert play-by-play, as he could do any sport. Unfortunately, the U.S. lost in a shootout. But you listen to Kenny water polo, and it was like he was doing it all his life.
Water polo is some sport to call. I mean, when I did that in Queens College, Queens would score about 10 or 11 goals, and they actually won. I believe they won like a Big East an ECC championship or Division II title. It was pretty cool that night to see them win. It's a very difficult sport though to try and get in the net and in the water. It's a challenge, that sport.
It's a very challenging sport. You have to obviously have endurance. You have to be a decent swimmer. You have to be a decent shot. And in traffic, there's a lot. There's a lot of players in that. It's not like it's 2-on-2. It's it's a 2 full teams of what is it, 5 or 6 players each, and it's a very entertaining sport to watch. And unfortunately, U.S. will be playing for the bronze in these Olympics.
At that point, though, any kind of medal in these things, I know you want the gold, but if you can still medal, pretty big deal to come home to. Now, how about this? You've also seen it where some of these kids who are college kids are now going back to campus with their medals. Now, that's pretty cool also to see from this Olympics. I don't remember that from other years. Do you?
Yeah, I do. I mean, maybe not as much, but yeah, that is pretty cool, as you say. There's a lot of great athletes in this world. They really
are. To be specific, the Bleacher Report covered them a little bit, and how they're going back to school. I love that. I just love when these stories come out of the youngsters winning the gold and whatnot. So that's good. Now, the other thing about all of this is the politics of it and the whole background. I have to say, I feel like, and I don't know if you want to comment on this, I feel like this is happening in the same kind of crisis time that happened in Rio, and they've tried to gloss over it, but it's real. They're coming into Paris at a very tough time, and we're seeing that. There were blackouts, I think, the second day of the Olympics. I mean, that felt like Rio all over again.
Well, I mean, I think they're doing their best to keep the athletes away from, any political, issues. And politics is always going to be involved when you have these many countries, involved in an international competition. That's a possibility. We can go back in history, and the Olympics played a part in many Olympics. Let's go back to the 1936 Olympics when they wouldn't let the great Marty Glickman. We know Marty Glickman as a great announcer. for the Jets and the Giants and basketball, but he wasn't allowed to play to run for the U.S. Olympic team. He was from Syracuse. I mean, he's from New York, but he was playing it. He went to school at Syracuse and couldn't run track and field because he was Jewish because of Hitler. And that's a memorable Olympics in '36 because Jesse Owens won multiple gold medals and shoved it right down Hitler's throat. And so then obviously you have the '72 games where 9 Israeli athletes were slaughtered, by Black September. I believe that was the name of the terrorist group in the '72 Olympics. That was just, I remember watching it live, and Jim McKay did a spectacular job in bringing it home and just emoting the emotions of such a horrible situation. Then we had the 1980 Olympics when the United States did not go to Moscow for the '80 Summer Games. So the '84 games in Los Angeles, because of political differences, the Soviet Union did not send a team to Los Angeles. So we've seen this, through the history of the Olympics. Unfortunately, it's sad. I mean, these Olympics, Russia's not there. Yes, there's some Russian athletes there, but really, there's not a Russian Olympic team. So, unfortunately, that's been the way of the world for a long, long time, Alex.
We've actually vented about him overall, but is LeBron James actually representing the U.S. in a upstanding kind of way? Because we know he can get complaining and all that other stuff when he's here playing NBA. How's his demeanor been overseas in the Olympics?
His demeanor has been fine. The one thing about the athletes in these Olympics, from a U.S. point of view, they've all been proud to be Americans. They're proud to accomplish and win the gold medal for the Americans. These athletes have been spectacular in representing the United States of America here as we're on. Let's see, we got Friday, Saturday, and Sunday left. So I have no complaints with any American athlete so far. They've done a spectacular job.
Well, thank you for reporting on that. That's good to hear. All right, one last thing before we wrap up for Terminello's take. I know we can get into football, but that's not the big other storyline. I think the storyline I want to end with is staying with tennis, actually, and Rafa Nadal not going to compete in the U.S. Open. I just feel like it's really becoming the end of the line for him and his career. I mean, maybe he'll come back, but if he's not going to be in the U.S. Open, should we prepare for like a retirement announcement anytime soon? Or?
Oh, I think so, Alex. I think we might have seen the end of Rafael Nadal. I mean, obviously, he's one of the all-time greats. But everything comes to an end, and I think we will see a retirement soon. I'm not sure he's going to play in the U.S. Open. I mean, Andy Murray, they lost his doubles partner, and him lost in the Olympics, and he's retired. Now, Andy Murray's nowhere close. He's a great player, but he's nowhere close to Rafael Nadal. But I think we're going to see it soon. Or if he plays in the U.S. Open, which starts at the end of August in a couple of weeks, that might be it. That might be his swan song.
Well, we'll have to see, Lou. It's going to be quite an emotional thing. Some of these guys might want to do a retirement tour, but he seems to just kind of know when it's time. So we'll see. We'll have to see how that plays out. Before we wrap up, it is indeed going to be the USA. You were following it through this conversation, and it'll be against France. First of all, the kid, first-round draft pick, now going to the gold medal game for France. What an opportunity for Wembyana. And then on the other side, Steph Curry and the troops, gutting it out and defeating Serbia. What's your take as we head into Saturday now? It's going to be a fiery matchup, isn't it?
Well, today was a tight game, and it was a nerve-wracking game. I really thought at one point it was going to get away from the United States. I mean, they were down They were down by 15 late in the third. They were down 17 in the game. But Steph Curry had his best Olympic game ever. He came within 1 point, I believe, of tying Carmelo Anthony's all-time single-game record of 37. He had 36 points. He had 9 three-pointers. All 9 were key three-pointers. They tightened up the defense down the stretch. Serbia with 1 or 2 bad possessions in the last 5 minutes, but with Durant also was tremendous. He only scored 9 points in the game, but he had a couple of clutch shots in the last couple of minutes. That mid-range jumper, and I think he's the greatest mid-range jump shooter in NBA history. He's just spectacular. A great win for the United States. Obviously, they were heavily favored. Jokic did his part, but 17 points, 11 rebounds, and he had a bunch of assists. He got in foul trouble. He had 4 fouls for the last 7 or 8 minutes of the game, and that hurt him. But the U.S. prevailed, and Embiid was spectacular. Again, maybe he's a naturalized citizen. Again, maybe some people say, well, an American-born might have been there, but he spent more than half of his life in this country. He could have played for Cameroon. He could have played for France. And he could have played for the United States, and he picked the United States. And I'll tell you one thing, they need him today. He was great on both offensively and defensively in the fourth quarter. So I think this was going to be the toughest U.S. game. I think they'll win on Saturday. Again, anything can happen in one game if a team gets hot, like Serbia was hot from 3. They were 15 from 39 for 3. The U.S. was 16 for 32. But it was a great Olympic basketball game, and it was worth the watch.
I feel like we were watching it together throughout this whole conversation because you were updating us by the minute and then right up to the end. All right, one last thing, and I was thinking about this when I looked at who was on that team. Steph Curry and Jason Tatum and KD. I mean, is this the best Team USA you've seen in quite a few Olympics, or what?
I would say so. I would say this is the deepest. Obviously, the 92 Dream Team is on a level of its own, but that was going back to 1992. But yeah, I would say that this as the United States goes for its 5th straight gold medal on Saturday. I would say this is a special team of talent. It really is. I mean, I think the backups could win a gold medal.
Well,
The ones who aren't playing all the minutes. That's how good this team is.
And Steve Kerr coaching this team, I got to say, I kind of was around for the Jackson years, and I was a little younger then. But following it now and seeing the Steve Kerr success in the pros, what a perfect choice for the Olympic head coach.
Yeah, well, they play it. He teaches a team game, and the United States played a team game this afternoon. They had 25 assists on their 35 field goals. I mean, LeBron James had 10 assists. The United States shot 57% from the field. The rebounds were even. 33 for the United States, 34 for Serbia. This was an even game. Points in the paint, 28 for the U.S., 30 for Serbia. This was 1 or 2 possessions made the difference, and the United States had more clutch guys than Serbia did. I mean, Serbia had Nikola Jokic, but you have James, you have Curry, you have Durant. It's a tough it's tough to beat, and it's a great win for the United States. That's for sure.
Well, on that note, Lou, thanks for joining me once again for Terminello's Take.
Thanks, Alex.
Shall we?